The night was calm when the world woke to a single image, an unexpected spark that lit the silence like a match in the dark. Your name began to rise in whispers across the corners of the internet, and with it, her face appeared like a blooming flower in the glow of screens. The photo was soft, uninvited, yet breathtaking, the kind of picture that feels captured by destiny, not by a camera or a passing hand. My new wife, standing there, unaware of the storm she had created, her smile, delicate as if borrowed from dawn, her eyes holding a secret warmth that even 1,000 filters could not hide. People rushed to share it, to comment, to claim they knew the story behind it, when in truth the story was still being written, between two hearts learning each other's rhythm. She became a wave overnight, a pulse through timelines, a spark in conversations, a mystery wrapped in elegance, a portrait carved in pixels but living in my soul. And I watched the world react, some with admiration, some with jealousy, some with curiosity, so sharp it felt like wind cutting through fabric. But she stayed calm, soft as a prayer whispered into a warm evening breeze. And I realized then that beauty does not tremble before noise. It stands taller. Her viral photo was not just an image. It was a mirror reflecting our newest chapter, a chapter the world stumbled upon before we fully opened it ourselves. I saw her cheeks blush when she found out, a shade of pink that could shame the sunrise, and she asked me, in the quiet way she always does, why the world cared so much. Maybe it was the softness in her gaze, or the innocence in her posture, or perhaps the universe simply wanted to announce her, as if she were a queen arriving without ceremony, yet deserving of one. She laughed softly, the kind of laugh that melts shadows, and told me she didn't understand fame, but I understood her, the way a heart understands its own beat. And though the world saw a moment, I saw a miracle, a woman who stepped into my life like light enters a room, effortless, gentle, and unforgettable. The viral photo traveled far, reaching strangers who held their breath at her beauty, sparking stories that were never ours, imagined tales that drifted through online winds. But she remained untouched by the noise, her heart steady, her soul untouched, her spirit shining brighter than the fame she didn't ask for. I stood beside her quietly, watching how the world celebrated her presence, before she even learned how to celebrate herself, and I felt grateful, not for the fame, not for the attention, but for the reminder that sometimes love is so radiant, the world notices it before we do. The morning after the photo spread like a rumor made of light, she woke with her hair falling softly over her shoulder, still unaware of the waves her quiet beauty had stirred across the world. I watched her stretch gently, as if unfolding like a page in a love story, not yet read by anyone but me. She asked me why my phone wouldn't stop ringing, why messages kept pouring in like rain, why friends and strangers alike were sending emojis, as if celebrating an event we never planned. And when I showed her the photo, that one simple photo, she blinked in surprise, her soft confusion painting my morning with sweetness. Her hands trembled slightly, not out of fear, but out of disbelief, that a single moment of hers had become a shared heartbeat for millions. She touched her face in the picture, as if trying to understand what the world saw in her, and she whispered that she had never considered herself extraordinary, but she was, more than she knew, more than the world could ever truly fathom. People were writing about her, sending messages filled with admiration, calling her an angel, a queen, a miracle wrapped in a smile. And though she blushed at every compliment, she remained grounded, humble, an untouched breeze in a world full of storms. I watched her move through the day, with the same grace she always carried, as if the world's eyes meant nothing, as if fame were just another passerby, knocking on the door of her destiny. But she refused to answer. Her calmness was a lesson, a quiet reminder that beauty does not shout, it whispers. It does not demand attention, it attracts it naturally, like the moon attracts the tides. As she made tea in the kitchen, the sunlight wrapped around her like a warm shawl, turning her into a vision, more beautiful than the viral photo could ever capture. I realized then that the world had only seen a glimpse, a single stroke of the painting that I was blessed to live beside. The photo traveled further, reaching countries we had never stepped in, touching hearts we would never meet, and yet she continued her day, with softness in her every movement, a kind of elegance that fame could never buy, and attention could never distort. When she looked at me, her eyes held the same innocence that made the world fall in love with her image. And in that moment I understood why the photo had become a storm of admiration. It wasn't the angle, or the lighting, or the composition. It was her, her purity, her quiet charm, her unspoken poetry. She asked me if I felt overwhelmed by the sudden spotlight shining on us, but I told her the truth, that she was the only light I ever needed, and the world merely noticed what my heart had known all along. Her viral photo was not fame, not a trend, not a wave of temporary fascination. It was the world's way of saying, "Look at her, she is rare." Evening settled over us like a velvet curtain, and yet the world was still wide awake, still whispering her name through glowing screens, as if she had become the newest constellation, shining in the digital sky. She sat beside me quietly, her head resting against my shoulder, her heart beating softly beneath the noise of the world. I could feel her thoughts drifting like gentle tides, wondering how a single photograph could carry her presence so far, to places she had never dreamed of touching. She asked me again, not out of insecurity, but out of pure innocence, why everyone cared so deeply, why thousands stopped scrolling just to admire her softness. And I told her that sometimes the world is thirsty for something pure, something real, something that feels like a breath of fresh air. In a universe filled with chaos, she was that breath, that softness, that quiet miracle. Outside, the city hummed with its usual rhythm, cars passing, lights blinking, life continuing as though nothing had changed. But inside our home, the air felt different, charged with wonder, carrying the weight of billions of eyes, yet somehow still peaceful. She held my hand, her fingers warm and delicate, and whispered that she was afraid the world would misunderstand her, turn her into a story, that didn't belong to her heart. I reassured her that no rumor, no voice, no opinion could ever rewrite the truth of who she was. A soul of tenderness, a heart woven from sincerity, a woman whose beauty came not from the surface, but from the quiet grace living inside her. As night deepened, messages kept coming, each one filled with awe, each one amazed at her simplicity, her innocence, her effortless glow. But she didn't chase the attention. She didn't even hold on to it. She let it pass through her life, like wind passing through open curtains, felt, heard, but never captured. I watched her scroll through the comments, her eyes widening at the kindness, softening at the admiration, and occasionally trembling when the world praised her in ways she had never praised herself. She didn't see herself as extraordinary, but the world did, and for once I was grateful they saw what I saw. Every day, she placed the phone aside, exhaled slowly, and leaned into me, as though I were her sanctuary from the noise outside. I wrapped my arms around her, feeling her heartbeat steady, like a rhythm meant only for me. And in that embrace, I understood something profound, that love is not shaken by fame, nor threatened by attention, nor altered by the opinions of strangers. Love simply grows, quietly, naturally, rooted not in the world's gaze, but in two hearts choosing one another over and over again. As the night sky darkened, she drifted into sleep, her breath warm against my chest, her presence softer than moonlight, and I looked at her, this woman the world admired, through a single viral moment, and whispered a silent promise that I would shield her from every storm her beauty invited, for the world saw an image, but I saw a life, a future, a love deeper than anything a camera could capture. Morning arrived again, soft as a whispered blessing, and the world was still speaking her name, as though the night had never stopped spinning. The photo continued to travel, crossing borders like a migrating bird, finding new hearts to rest in, finding new eyes to amaze. She woke slowly, stretching like someone trying to escape a dream she didn't know had extended into the entire world. I watched her rise, her hair tousled, her expression tender with sleep, and I felt a gentle ache of admiration, the kind that doesn't shout, but settles deep in the soul. She approached the window, drawn to the morning light, and the sun embraced her, as though recognizing the face that had already lit millions of screens. This time, she didn't flinch at the thought of her image traveling beyond her control. She simply breathed, as if allowing the universe to make space for her presence. Over breakfast, she asked me softly if the attention would fade soon, if life would return to its simple rhythm. I told her it would, but honestly, I wasn't sure, because some beauty doesn't fade from the world's memory so easily. She listened quietly, her eyes deep pools of thought, and she whispered that she didn't want to be seen as something unreal or unreachable. She wanted to remain herself, the same woman who cooked with love,